Boy, guys, I have a good one for us today. Woohoo! Hey, how's it going? This is Catherine Isabel Jennings for Your Life Matters News and Comment today. And this one will affect your health or your wellness. So I hope that you get a piece of paper. Go ahead, stop this video and get yourself a piece of paper and a pen or something. Or use your tablet or whatever, because I'm going to break down something. Who's censoring you? Do you know that they're censoring you? Do you care if they're censoring you? Why are they censoring you, especially when it comes to science and medicine? Well, okay, so I only have 4 hours of solid research, maybe 5, on this topic. So that doesn't make me an expert, but it does make me touch the surface for us to really want to go deeper, right? So I am giving this to you, and I'm giving it to me because I certainly, when I started going into this and asking basic questions, I kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So, all right. So today I'm going to touch base with 3 trains of thought, if you will, or what's going on, and hopefully you will get a picture of we are being censored, and why is that, and how does it affect you, and if you don't do anything about it, how does that affect you? And I'm going to start with a really nice guy. I've been connecting with him a little bit. He finally got a hold of me a little bit. And I will be doing more with this gentleman because I really like him. His name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I probably don't pronounce his name very well, but he knows I don't. So this gentleman he's got 4 PhDs from MIT, a very sound man. He's the person who actually patented email and that system that he calls it. I have a lot of respect for him. He's been shoved under the bus so many times, and I just really support him. There's several people that I do support now with my mouth and getting their agendas out, and he's definitely one of them. Please look up Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I'll try to Ayyadurai. I think that's how it's spelled. But anyway, he's a good guy. He's systems analyst, which means that even the government has a system. The medical aspects of life have a system. This gentleman came up with the system of email. So he's a whiz kid, and I really like him. He's really cool, and he's been thrown under the bus along with a few other doctors that I will name later on. So basically what happened to him, I'm not going to give you his full story, but he decided to go against the political machine in Massachusetts, and he wanted to run for senator. And the bottom line on all of it was he was out there doing his thing, kicking butt, and you have to look at his whole story to appreciate the crap that this man has endured and what he's still pushing through, and what he's doing for all of us as a result of him getting this kind of attack, okay? So anyway, as a result of his votes in all the jurisdictions, he was out there. He was the only one out there that was fighting, as he was under the Republican title in Massachusetts. Oh my God. And he was making some headway because he was tired of watching the crap that was flying through the state government and how they were handling stuff. And we know who you are, Elizabeth. And so the bottom line is he went after this, and gosh darn it, everything was going great. And when the early elections came, everybody knew who he was. Everybody on the planet knew who he was, and when it came to the vote, it said in every jurisdiction that didn't know who the other person was, he lost to 60-40. And it's like it didn't make logical sense. So he went after that, and he found something very interesting. He found that the state of Massachusetts contacted Twitter as he was getting popular. And there was a bias against him on Twitter, and he was shut down. And this was during a campaign. And that is so, what did he say that was? He goes, the bottom line is the First Amendment, especially for protected candidates during an election, is so like glorified. So it's not it's protected. What you say during a campaign is like cream of the crop. It is protected law. Okay, it's like you don't mess with that. Well, Massachusetts did, and this man filed a lawsuit, a big one, and it was very intense. He fired it out there to the government, and it had to do with Section 230 and the First Amendment. I'm not that person. Get into his suit. So, all right. So he filed it, and it was. I mean, think about the premise. You're in an election, okay, and you're out there and you're winning, and then all of a sudden somebody from the state office on a state/federal level, because this is an election, okay, shuts you down. That is a huge mess, okay? And so he fought it, and he won something, and Twitter had to put him back up, and they did, but then he said something else, and he'll paraphrase it. He just recently came out, I think, within the last 24 hours. Today's the 25th, so he has a 2-hour or an hour long explanation. It's very thorough, and I'm trying to paraphrase because I got 2 or 3 other issues to go. So here's the deal. He gets back on, and he's just being himself, and he gets shut down again after the ruling was in his favor the first time. So you don't think he's like, what? So apparently the federal judge, now it's at the Supreme Court, well, it was at the Supreme Court, yeah, the first time, and it was ruled in his favor. Well, secondly, the judge said, get your butt Twitter to come in front of me now. And basically what was found out of this court case, which was it had an ending on the 21st of May, a few days ago, and I'll tell you that ending in a second. What was found out is that, and this is Dr. Shiva finding this. This wasn't a panel of 60 attorneys. This was this crazy cool geeky guy delving into what the heck is going on here. Why am I not, whatever. Come to find out now, he puts it in a really cool phrase. He goes, do you realize that the government has set up a portal, okay, with Twitter, so that if there's a sense that there's something going on over here, they're notified. If there's a sense that something's going over here against their narrative, they're going to shut down. So they're helping each other, okay, which is totally illegal, because Twitter is supposed to be a, quote, private company, and the government is the government, and they shouldn't be overlapping. Well, this is interesting, because as I'm making that connection, I'm connecting some dots down the road here, and I'm trying to figure that out. So the bottom line is, as of the 21st of this month, March 21st, there was a 16-hour hearing. Did you hear about it? No, the major media won't let you know about this. There was a 16-hour hearing on this case in the federal courts, and of which 3 of the top global attorneys for Twitter were on the on the Twitter team, and 3 of the highest ranking attorneys for the Attorney General in Massachusetts were sitting there. And then I guess there was one other one from some kind of National Committee for Accountability in Massachusetts. So anyway, here's this guy, Dr. Shiva. Here's these people, and Dr. Shiva nailed it. He said it's against the law. He gave all the data. Constitution. And I'm telling you, this is what we need, America. We need you. We need the Dr. Shivas. Yeah, he's a geek, okay? But there's a crap load of geeks here in America. And we need you guys to stand up, and don't you be afraid of saying stuff, because you are a geek. And you don't realize how much of a geek you are until you start realizing you're a good researcher. Once you become a good researcher, you don't put up with other people's, oh, that's conspiracy. You're okay, man. All right, so hats off to you, Dr. Shiva. I'm so proud of you. I want to cry. Yeah, and apparently the federal judge said, do you understand that this court case will have a precedent, and it will probably be presented in every single constitutional law class from now on. And this is Dr. Shiva. Good for you, buddy. All right, man. I wish I could give you your favorite cake or some kind of thing like that. All right. So I'm going to go on to another censoring kind of thing. It happened just today, and I'm so happy because they are on the books as doing the undercover work quintessential, and it's called Project Veritas, and they have gone in undercover on the highest levels of corporate America and government and media bureaucracies, all these bureaucracies, and somehow they get to the guy on the top undercover. And so you got this guy, Project Veritas, and they get into Facebook. And they're saying, why are people getting censored? Because I'm getting censored all the time, and nobody's responding to my videos, and nobody's doing this, and I'm staying on Facebook because I want to be a small little peon voice of true data. And I'm like, how come no one's answering my comments? And how about no one's... Well, guess what? Project Veritas, as of today, what was it? The 25th. Now, they did this a few days ago as well, I guess. Comes on the heels of Dr. Shiva, I think. But anyway, they're coming in and they're saying, guess what? There are apps and programs that are watching you, and I mean, I've heard that kind of stuff, but they got really specific on this video. I have it on my Facebook, by the way, but I also, if you want it, let me know. Project Veritas goes undercover, the highest levels, and exposes a corruption that you are not being heard, that you're not hearing about. What they're doing is they're taking algorithms based on negative words that they are deeming coming from you. It doesn't matter what you're doing and how good you are or how bad you are. They're skewing things to fit their narrative, and by doing that, they're picking and choosing, and and they are singling you out, and they are saying, ooh, the flag's up over here on this topic. Ooh, and you could be just talking about, if you say the word COVID on Facebook, just typing out COVID, oh boy, everybody's already on you. You know why? Because there is they are trying to skew the fear and push it in the direction of their audiences and keep it there and keep it in front, because anything that is fear-based in front of an audience and they're eating it sells. It sells. And that's a huge marketing ploy, but it also is skewing you into thinking that you're that you have to follow suit. You have to follow their narrative. And this is against our freedoms. It's against our freedom of speech. It's against our First Amendment rights. It's against who we stand for as a country and as a world. So I'm going to take a sip, all right? So what you have is Project Veritas says, okay, now that we prove this, we have some whistleblowers. We have a couple whistleblowers that are engineering type people. They've been following this, and they're realizing just how detrimental it will be for all of us if they keep their mouths shut. And what they're basically saying, the first one said it's kind of like this. There are algorithms, and I told you about the words. They're going to pick and choose. Now they're choosing storylines that don't fit, and it all has to do with getting vaccinated, dealing with the COVID issues. They don't even want you talking about COVID. Okay, so if they start with this conversation, they started with the elections too. You could see where you could share, you're being shut down if you share something other than their narrative. You were shut down. Okay, well, this is critical, because if you are allowing this to happen, and we are allowing this inundation of one thought process or one issue becoming up, we're going to get inundated. We're going to believe that that's the only norm that's out there, and we will have our freedoms taken away from us. And so the first whistleblower for Facebook said this, and he talked about how they're actually pining the algorithms to they're getting really focused in microly on what is being said and how it's being said. And I can attest to this. I can attest on my own Facebook. Now, I know I'm on there. I don't prefer to be on Facebook, but I know I'm called to be on there to give a message of pure fact. And whether I just need to stay here on Facebook, on that Facebook platform, and others, but that particular one, because a lot of people are skewed into thinking that their way is the only way, and they don't want to deal. They're like ostriches, and they got their head in the sand. I'm hoping that maybe somebody will listen to something, So basically, the second whistleblower, it was really good. I hope that you can get this analogy, because this one calls it the way it is. The person in charge of, I think his name's O'Keefe, he was in charge of Project Veritas. He said, what do you think is this going to be a bad thing? Is it going to get progressively worse? And this whistleblower said yes, because what you have is when someone's pushing their own narrative as the norm, and it isn't, okay, and the norm is getting shifted aside, okay, in comes the new way of the new norm, because you're getting inundated by it. That's only Facebook. The guy says, what happens if this goes to Twitter? What happens if it goes to other platforms? What eventually will happen, and they want to do this globally. They were even talking about, I guess it's already made itself, the algorithms and the engineering of how to skew the words and all that stuff. This has already made it into 13 different languages. They're trying to get it out there and skew it so we're all thinking the same way, and you lose your rights. And what this gentleman said, the first one said, I don't want my children to have a world like that where they can't think for themselves. Well, critical race theory started that 40 years ago. But this other whistleblower said it's likened to an abusive relationship. Okay, the analogy that he gave was an abusive relationship where the abuser watches and hovers and hounds around the one being abused. You can't say any words. You can't step into a different place. You can't think for yourself, and you're abused if you are. And we have to look at the possibility that this is what they want to achieve globally. So, and we are the only still free nation. All these other nations have issues, and they are succumbing to the Facebook mentality of censoring. And so I wanted to bring that to you as concrete. Thank you, Project Veritas. Thank you, Dr. Shiva, again. And I'm going to move on to the CDC. So there's so many different organizations that I want to share with you, but I really wanted to talk about the CDC today because the CDC has shown itself to be kind of not a very nice place. I'm just looking to see if I have the right pad. Yes, I do. Okay, great. So when did the CDC start? Is this the Center for Disease Control? Okay. When did it start? Its inception came in 1946 as a federal agency, and it was formed July 1st. All right. It's the Communicable Disease Center Disease Control, the same thing. It was created from the Office of Malaria Control in the war areas. Okay, so when I was looking at this on the uptake, I said, well, I saw its revenue was $11.1 billion per year. I am not sure of that number because as I progress, you're going to see why in a minute. So $11.1 billion a year. Think that way, okay? The agency's executive is Rochelle Walensky. She's a director, and Anne, looks like I can't pronounce her last name, Chat, and she's the principal deputy director. Okay, so the Center for Disease Control is a private 501c public charity. So I'm having a hard time thinking federal agency / 501c in the same line. Do you? I still do. That's where I'm gonna do a little bit more research, because how can it be an agency that is also a privately funded thing? I don't know. I don't understand that. I'm gonna delve for us, okay? So basically, a 501c3 receives charitable contributions and philanthropic grants from individuals, right? Foundations, universities, NGOs, and other organizations to advance the work of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. All right, the top two of those are the Bloomberg Family Foundation and the Gates Foundation, of which $12 million, I believe that's annually, come from those two foundations per year. All right, so giving you an overview because there's a reason for all of this. All right, I'm going to bring it up. So, okay, so I was looking up, like, what's the correlation between their regulations and the law? And it's such a gray area, folks. We could fight both of these because it's so gray. The federal government, we need our Congress, our House of Representatives, and our senators to pass bills, and these organizations can be directed to implement the bills and the laws. But these little places like the CDC, they come up with mandates, Now, I am having a hard time understanding that during an emergency, a mandate can be imposed and whatever, but it is not mandatory for, people don't have to comply with it. And I kept seeing over and over that no, a mandate is in place. You have the right to not do it. But here, the scare tactic is putting it out there using major media and media to inundate you, so you have to, and you bypass common sense, and you bypass science. And so when you have a fear, and an emergency is a great place to catapult fear out to your face using the media. That's what the media is for. Let's catapult this fear right at you. And so it comes right at you, and all the time, and you're inundated, and because you're censored, like the Facebook things, you're only getting it. So you're like, am I thinking this through? Am I making the right decision? Am I questioning appropriately? And then you have the other side of that. Oh, if you think contrary to what is being inundated to you, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, you're not. You have common sense. I'm telling you, you have common sense. Think it through. Delve a little bit like I do. And I have to say, I have to choose to do that, because if I listen to all of the crap that I'm listening, it's out there, I'm trying to give you the right data. And at this point, I'm happy that I can do that, because right now I'm getting tired. They're hitting people like us left and right and right and left and left and right. Excuse me. All right. So the CDC has regulations. It's under Title 42-Public Health. Okay. But they also say that there's a local authority. So I guess we are to go in that realm. All right. This is where it's gonna get good. All right. So in 1995, the CDC Foundation was formed. The CDC Foundation is not a federal agency. It is a private organization. So you have the CDC over here that is an agency of the government, okay, which is private, 501c3, and then you have the CDC Foundation formulating in 1995. I'm going to go deeper in that in my research. I have only touched the surface, because I was trying to figure out, well, what the hell's the difference between this one and this one? And there's such a gray area. Oh my God. It is like crazy. It's so broad and so so gray. So over here can overlap over here, and over here can overlap over here, and nobody is accounted for it. Do you know why? Okay, think about what's going on right now. We have this virus. I'm trying to be as neutral as I can and not get personal and not go over the top on a side that I don't contend with. Okay, so you got this thing, and you got the CDC that's regulation this and doing that and doing that. Then you got and I haven't seen the FDA come in on this too much, and I'm learning more about the FDA. All right, so the CDC, I looked at both of them, and geez, this is crazy stuff. All right, so here you got all these pharmacy people coming in. Like, we got Pfizer, and you got Moderna, and you got Johnson & Johnson. There's a whole slew of them, right? Okay, and they're all coming up with these vaccines or injections or whatever the word you want. I prefer to call them injections, because for me, the word vaccine just says federally approved, to be whatever it is. Anyway, and that takes 7 years to really thoroughly research. But all these pharma pharma businesses, corporations, have contributed. They have been blanketed under this emergency act of the government. And what did I say? What did I say it was? I believe it's the 42. Excuse me. So I've basically, I believe it was Title 42, the public health situation. So you got all of these organizations, now they're blanketed under this to rush through something without the proper protocol of, the proper science, if you will, proper science, all right? And so that usually takes 7 years, like I said, right? 7 to 10 years. And they're rushing through something without good trials. And then the CDC itself is coming up with their own personal guidelines of acceptance, all right? I haven't seen the FDA approve anything yet, all right? And that should be a precursor of what you should or shouldn't be taking anyway. So, this is what I wanted to share with you. All right, I hope I say this right because this is important. So there are a lot of politicians that are associated with vaccines. Okay, they have interests, monetary interests. Okay, and I was trying to get some of them, but I will just give you some corporation lists, and I think that's a really important thing for you to have. But anyway, let's put what this says. This is verbatim under the CDC itself. So basically, the Center for Disease Control Foundation, as well as the CDC, I haven't seen a differential between the two of them, all right? They are associated with vaccinations and regularly receive funding for their research from the very same pharmaceutical companies who manufacture vaccines, which are either given or sold to the public. That comes right off of their sites, those words, all right? So from the time of its inception, pharmaceutical companies from 1999 to 2018 have given how much to politics? $4.7 billion. That averages to $233 million per year is going to the platforms of politicians to skew the politicians into believing and sliding things under the door, if you will, so that they can make more money. Now, I wanted to read to you something. The CDC Foundation has members. The CDC itself has members. I don't know how it approves to do that. I'm going to look at something for you. All right, CDC. Where is it? Okay. So, in the CDC, since its inception, there has been 50,000 people who have worked there since 1946. I came up with an A to Z list of members, and several of them, like, you'd be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised, I'm sure, but Bear's in there. Affleck is in there. I just came up with a lot of them. Facebook is part of it. Car dealerships. I mean, like, there is a lot of people, a lot of organizations that contribute to the CDC, and I see the sum. I see $12 billion a year. This is a huge operation, and I see different topics, like what did the CDC come up with. I'm saying this for a reason. I just want you to know there are reasons why I'm saying all of this. All right, where are you? There was a whole... Bottom line is, here we go. Okay, so the CDC came up with, they created a global management task force, and I haven't looked at who the high level overseers are, but I'd like to know who those are. They created the foundation, like I said, and benefactors of that. They created an associate director of program management position, which includes management of on-site reviews, which is okay. That's okay. This one gets me. They started planning for stricter reviews of grant recipients, and I have a whole side on thinking about why that is. Basically, when you look at the whole list of members, okay, it's a who's who of members, and it's almost like if you are anybody to anything, anywhere, and you're diversified, you get under their radar, sign up under the CDC, because it's a protection, if you will. Now, what I didn't know is people who are members can also hold patents. All right, I don't know how many patents to what they're holding for, but there are at least 50 vaccine patents that are held by members from the CDC Foundation and the CDC itself. Okay, what does that mean? It means $60 billion a year are coming into those people's pockets from an organization that is supposed to be a federal agency / a private entity, and somebody, I think it's 30 billion, but anyway, it's boku $billion per year coming in to these patent holders for vaccines. So they don't, and if you want to really know, they can disclose whatever they want, but if there's a side effect to any of these vaccines, because there's a 501 in it and there's a government agency, that word vaccine protects the person who owns the patent. Basically, you can't sue them. That's why I firmly believe that as I'm researching what is in these Pfizer / Moderna / Johnson & Johnson, as I'm seeing the huge push for it without due process of the scientific method, and people following it properly, they're following it improperly, and they're calling it an emergency push. People are going to die, and they can't get, the people who own the patents on them will not get sued. They can't. So this is my argument. This is my frustration, and I do have something to share with you on my phone. One more thing that I'm going to read verbatim, because I appreciate what Kara sending this. I really appreciate her. I get a bunch of data from certain people that I really hold and esteem very highly. Oh goodness, come on. Okay, Kara. going to give... Oh, I know where it is. Hang on a second, folks. Hang on a second. It's just so important that you get this stuff, and we have to take our time sometimes, and I get that. I understand. Sometimes I don't appreciate. All right. So I'm going to read you something verbatim from my friend Kara. Where are you, Kara? And there's a whole thing on the NIH and the WHO that I haven't even touched with. Just give me a second. I have Kara. Please forgive me. Where are you, Kara? All right, here it is. So this is March 20th, 2020. I wanted you to read that. I wanted you to hear this. This is updated from my friend Kara. I know this is a little old, but I want you to hear what is going on and the due process that is not being done. On March 27th, 2020, the Health and Human Services, HHS, Secretary declared that circumstances exist justifying the authorization of emergency use, EUA, of drugs and biological products for COVID-19. This means people must be told the risks and benefits, and they have the right to decline a medication that is not fully licensed. The same section of the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act that authorizes the FDA to grant EUA also requires the Secretary of Health and Human Services to ensure that individuals to whom the product is administered are informed of the option to accept or refuse the administration of the product. All of the COVID mRNA injections, Pfizer/BioNTech and Moderna, or vaccines, Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca, have received only EAU authorization and not full FDA approval. I was going to go into the FDA, but I'm glad she did. When the FDA grants EUA for a vaccine, many questions about the product cannot be answered because the testing data is unavailable. Therefore, when Congress granted the authority to issue EUAs, it mandated that individuals must be allowed to decide for themselves whether to receive an EUA product. The FDA and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, considered this fundamental requirement of choice important enough that even during the height of COVID pandemic, they reinforced the policy decision when issuing their guidance related to the experimental vaccines. Okay, so in a nutshell, they said it back then, but they're not pushing this. And you need to know that you have to take care of yourself. Now, I believe because of the skewedness that Facebook has done, okay, and Twitter has done to push you to getting a COVID vaccine, that it's okay and all this stuff, you have not been told the total truth of something. You have just randomly said, oh, well, COVID-19's researchers are on top of that. Who are they? Where did they get this? If there's so many CDC members who have patents for vaccines, for the COVID vaccines, who do you think is benefiting from this? Okay, and even if the vaccine is free, somebody's paying the pharmaceutical companies, probably your taxpayer dollars, to get it out there, whether it's ready or not. Now, for those of you who have taken the vaccine, one or two, I believe that we have to take care of you. And I believe that those have not been approved, and the side effects, I'm going to give you names right now. I happen to totally love this lady. I would love for you to look her up. Her name is Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. She has 40,000 hours of vaccine research. Look her up, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. Please get the stats from her. Check out the American Foundation's doctors. I believe that's the Freedom Doctors. It's the biggest one. I didn't write that one down. But Dr. Sherry Tenpenny has 40,000 hours of research on vaccines, people. Okay, and out of her, she's tandeming another gal who's a biotech nano geek, and I don't have her name, but I do have the number one woman globally on women's issues and correlating that with these kind of shots, okay, these crazy shots, and her name is Dr. Christiana Northrup. She is a best-selling author. She is fabulous on women's issues. She's telling you how many blood clots, where the blood clots are coming from, where they're going in a woman's body, how much sterilization is happening and a side effect because of these shots, okay? And, yeah, she's thorough, man. And Tammy Clark, she is out of, I believe, Michigan. She is an expert on OSHA. OSHA, practices for upper respiratory, and we've got to stop this mask baloney because it is hurting our lungs. I'm seeing people wheezing, and I'm seeing their little children should not be wearing a mask when there's a 99.4% success rate, healing rate over this virus. They shouldn't be wearing them. I also have seen the data on the increase of oral problems because of the impure air that's coming in, and it's creating acids in your mouth. Acid in your system creates blood clots. And so there's a 560% increase since a year ago on oral problems. So I am trying to get you some data, people. I'm only getting data. I'm asking you to please look up these names. I highly respect Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I highly respect Dr. Christiana Northrup. I highly respect Dr. Sherry Tenpenny and all the doctors from the American Foundations, Doctors Foundations. I'm probably getting it wrong. Tammy Clark, OSHA. Okay, I highly respect these people because they're very, very, very smart. Now, who else? Dr. Rishi Patar. Okay, Dr. Rishi Patar has millions of followers, and I want you to check out and sign up for his May 29th and May 30th seminar on globalization and health issues. This guy is a geek. He has been thrown off all platforms, and he's like Dr. Shiva and Dr. Christiana and Dr. Sherry. They've been thrown off doing what they do best. And look up Dr. Rishi Patar and get on that seminar, and you'll find out a perspective that's really, really going to be good for you. In the meantime, please like my videos. Please forward them. Please become a member of my YouTube, Catherine Jennings, and please get this out because we need to help each other. And I mean, I hope I did a good job. I just wanted to let you know that there's a direct correlation between the CDC and who's making money in our House, in our Congress. It's disgusting. Okay, I'm just trying to get names right now. All right. So anyway, your life matters. It really does. And we need to unite because all of our lives matter. I'm Catherine Isabel Jennings. Take care.